This is the Cheap Fly Adventure to Naples in Italy, and here's the airplane arriving into Naples. And here I am at Naples airport. Let's take a look around and along to the lift, which is a very cheap lift.
Ascensore in salita.
And now to the next lift, which is an eco disc.
Primo piano.
And along to the car park, which has some very, very cheap lifts.
Sesto piano.
So then, to get into Naples from the airport, there is an overpriced bus. Just like most airports in Italy, they seem to have these stupid overpriced buses which you can't use regular tickets on. But if you walk outside of the airport, you can then just get on a local bus. But sadly, I couldn't find anywhere to get tickets, so we decided to walk along to the nearest train station. But walking to the nearest station involved walking through a cemetery. But this is no ordinary cemetery. This is like nothing else I've seen pretty much anywhere. This is more of a city of the dead. Normally in a cemetery you'd expect to see lots of grass and trees, but not here. And as well as that, there's not many graves to be seen. Because instead of graves, they have loads of little buildings. It is so bizarre and so incredibly creepy. It's really run down, and I don't think I've been anywhere quite this spooky before. And as well as these little buildings, in some parts it's actually what looks like blocks of flats. I don't believe it's actual blocks of flats. And no one lives in them. The only people that live there are dead people. This is really weird and really creeped me out. So let's leave the cemetery and along to the train station. And the first railway we go on is the narrow gauge railway. And this railway is just a little bit knackered. It is in a right state. Look at these trains. And this isn't some weird abandoned part of the line. This is on one of the train stations. These are active lines. These trains have just been trashed. And they've been left here blocking active lines so they can't run other trains on these lines. This is so crazy and bizarre. I don't know what to think of this. And whilst looking around, I wasn't alone. There were some teenagers in one of the trains ripping out seats and chucking them out of the window. And there was staff about, and the staff didn't seem to care. And just to show up, these trains are on an active line. Here are the trash trains. And over here is an active train. So let's go for a train ride. And the service here is really bad. The timetable is not even to be looked at. They don't run anything like the timetable. And the trains are so infrequent. If you're to go on this train and go for a train ride, expect to wait about an hour for a train to come back the other way. And even though the service is really bad, the trains themselves actually run really efficiently. They accelerate really fast. They've got 3 doors. And they've also got pre-start. Except it's not really pre-start. Because pre-start in a lift means the VF holds the lift and the brake releases, and it's like a controlled start so the lift can start quicker once the doors are shut. On these trains, pre-start is more just the driver releasing a brake and not really considering safety very much, because several times the train has started to roll while people were getting on and off the train. This is really bad. And now along to the metro. The metro's quite ordinary, although the trains do run rather infrequently. And now along to the Rainbow Metro. This is a little tiny metro line. It's like a feeder into the main metro. And they've built this with a rainbow theme. I don't really understand why, but hey, it's quite nice. Although, since they've gone to all the effort of calling it Rainbow Metro, it'd be nice if they'd themed it a bit more than what I have done. This metro line is very infrequent, as it only has a train every 15 minutes, which is ridiculous because hardly anyone uses it. And now along to the suburban metro line. This is a suburban line running mainline trains, but I count it as a metro line on the map. These trains are quite creepy and the stations look rather spooky. These are some big heavy trains and they have DC pulsing. And the trains on this suburban line run every 10 minutes. And running parallel to this suburban line is another suburban line, which pretty much just runs alongside it and stops at all of the same places, which pretty much just doubles up the route for no real reason. And this second suburban line has a train every half an hour. The trains are similar to the ones on the really creepy suburban line in Rome, but they're a bit later than the Rome ones because these ones have decent pulsing. And as well as having two suburban lines running in parallel right next to each other, doubling up the service, they actually went and built a third line, Metro Line 6. And Metro Line 6 is just a mile long. It doesn't even go into the city centre and just runs parallel to this route, which has already two suburban lines running on, meaning that Metro Line 6 is an absolutely useless line and it was never used. And it sounded really interesting, so I came to see this, but I was too late. It's already now abandoned. They're actually planning on extending this line into the city to make it more useful, but as it stands, it's a completely useless line. Also in Naples, there also used to be a cable car, but it's now abandoned. In Naples, there's also a tram network, which is also abandoned. Why is so much of a public transport here not working? This is ridiculous. They've got this tram infrastructure, yet it's all been left to decay. This is crazy. And there's also a trolley bus network here, which has been heavily reduced, and the trolley buses no longer run the long routes that they used to. Oh! But at least one thing that does work in Naples are the 4 funiculars, which are really nice. So make sure you check out my videos of all of these different transports. As for now, let's now go on to the lifts. And Naples is a very, very dirty city. There is rubbish everywhere. Now, I've been to cities where it's like rubbish. Naples takes a dirty city to a whole new level. It is filthy here. Along to the tall office tower section of Naples. This is like Naples' version of Canary Wharf. And the first 2 towers I went to are now abandoned. These are 2 identical towers, have lifts going up the outside, look really, really nice. But let's just zoom in a bit. The lift tracks are very rusty and the lift cables are rusty. And if we look at this lift, look at the cables as I pan up. That cable has got itself hooked onto the lift tracks. How did that happen? It must have been a massive gust of wind or something. Yeah, that lift is not going anywhere. And along to the other one of these 2 office buildings, and again 2 very nice looking office buildings completely abandoned. And this area, despite being the poshest part of Naples, is actually looking a bit rough. This lift here goes down to the car parks and it is abandoned. And along some escalators down to the car parks. And why have these escalators not been fenced off? These escalators are in a really, really bad state. That is so knackered. Why have they left it in such a state? Theum! That's definitely not going to come. And on this one, that's not safe. That is, yeah, the trapdoor's not in its right spot. Okay, let's go along to one of the buildings, and there's a couple of residential buildings around these office buildings. I managed to sneak into one. It's very hard getting into buildings in Naples because they've all got a concierge, and these concierges properly scream at you if they think you're going in the building and you're not meant to be there. So lift filming in Naples is actually a bit harder than other cities, but I managed to get into lifts which has a really nice Schindler R series. The buttons have been replaced, but as far as I can tell, I think the logic's still original, but I'm not sure. These lifts are really nice. And round the corner from the main 2 lifts, there is a little service lift. Let's surf it! And now I go to one of the office buildings. This is the only office building I got in without being questioned and kicked out. This building has an 80s or 90s lift, modernised by Otis Mod Logic, and is a really nice lift going up the outside of the building. This office building looks amazing. In the middle of this building is a big empty space which I think is like a service area, and these lifts do look really good. So let's ride them! And now I go into one of the residential buildings. This one has a really interesting Theum lift. This is a 1.6 meter second Theum lift, which is the fastest Theum lift I've ever actually come across, and it's really nice. And along to this little student building. This building has 2 older lifts and 2 modernised lifts. First to the older lifts.
Ooh. Oh, it's re-levelling now. Stopped at 3, and then it's probably going to go straight back up to 6 now. Okay, let's try 5.
And now to the modernised ones.
So modernised lifts are not even a set when that side is a set. That is really bad. Beep. So stop button in a lift with new logic. Modern logic's done that stop button quite often. No! Start up again. It's literally a safety brake button. Safety brake. Start up again. Okay, not start up again. This time I think this door's in between floor. Good lift. You have been a really clever lift.
And along into Holiday Inn. And Holiday Inn has some very awesome Schindler M series full intelligent levelling, completely epic lifts. This place is a set of 5 lifts, 1 service lift and 1 little outdoors lift which is hardly ever used. First into the main lifts. These lifts go 2.5 meters a second and are really epic.
And in here is a load of litter which are pretending is art. M series with S series button, Schindler design S. Let's hope this is fast. Whee! 2.5 meters a second. Yep, full intelligent. 2 floor trips, see how fast it gets to 16 from 80. Very fast. Nothing's going to be hard. There's no weight in the lift. That's 1 cool, 2 cool. Nope. 1 cool, 2 cool. Nope. Oh dear. Oh, it's a 1-to-1. Very nice. Fucking hell, I was priced 150 gram beef hamburger. 15 euros. Oh, fucking hell.
And along to the service lift. And this one has Schindler R series buttons, but as far as I can tell, I think it was installed at the same time as the M series ones, so I think they've just put in R series buttons because it's a service lift. This one only goes 1.5 meters a second rather than 2.5.
See how good this goes. Well, it's slower. 1.6 meters a second. How will it level? M series logic. Oh, I've got my Conic Advanced on that, same as the other ones. Like a really run-down Canary Wharf. If Brexit goes ahead in England, Canary Wharf in London's probably going to end up looking like this, with loads of abandoned towers. And that says the point of no return. Ooh. No, it's not a point of no return. I made it sound like it's a point of no return, but it's not.
And along to the outside. This goes up its little 5 exit staircase on the outside of the building. Hardly anyone ever uses it. This lift goes 1.5 meters a second.
Oh, it's nice inside. There's one for the higher, 23. Oh, it's got my Conic Advanced as well.
Let's surf it! And up at the top of this building, I managed to get onto the roof. The door was unlocked, but then I realised there's workers on the roof, and knowing how Italians properly go mental if they see you where you're not supposed to be, I left. And now along to a train station lift in this spooky station on the suburban line.